I hate it, man. I do. It's the perfect intro for the show today. Done too many of these, man. I hate locker room cleanout day. I hate asking a bunch of questions that we won't get answers for 8 months. It's going to be a long off season, man. Oh, man. That sucked. That sucked really bad. It's not at all what we expected. In a lot of different ways, I can say that. This season was not anything that we expected. Playing on Saturday, I guess, in a way, was not expected, but you still made it. You were still there. And boy, did you get smoked. Man, did we get smoked. And you wake up today, very happy MLK Day to all out there joining us. And we begin the long, cold off season for the Cleveland Browns. Now, with that all being said, there's going to be a lot of reflection. There's going to be a lot of discussions. And I guess I'm going to try to keep it positive, Ryan, I'm going to try to keep things positive. It's one of the stages of grief. It is one of the stages. Eventually, maybe we'll get to acceptance. I don't know. Well, we start this morning the exact opposite of how you want to feel as a Browns fan. It's negative degrees outside. My team was eliminated from the playoffs. I got 8 months of trying to defend Kevin Stefanski. 8 months of what Deshaun Watson's going to mean. 8 months of playing with the roster. I don't even have a draft pick to get into mock drafts to ease my pain. But you know I'm going to get mock drafts anyway. We begin the first show of the offseason. And Ryan, I'm very sad to say this is the first show that we have done without the Cleveland Browns playing football. We started this show during the season. It was a hell of a run that the Browns had. It all comes to an end on Saturday. We got a lot of things to talk about, and I'm telling you, I'm going to try to stay positive about it. It's getting lost right now. I don't blame this for fans. You wake up this morning, you are angry, you're upset, you want to place your blame. We are here to be therapeutic for you. We are here to help you try to maybe see the light just a little bit. And we'll do that right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Good morning. Again, very important day today, MLK Day. It is, of course, freezing god-awful cold outside, but we're Cleveland. We deal with it. And the Browns. Oh, man. That sucked. That absolutely sucked. You got throttled in that game. Your defense did not travel. Joe Flacco made mistakes. Yes, there are roster questions. Yes, there's questions with Deshaun Watson. There's Joe Flacco. There's Myles Garrett. There's Kevin Stefanski. There's all of it. But we begin today. How we began so many off seasons for the Cleveland Browns, disappointed. You're always going to be disappointed. 31 of the 32 NFL teams usually end their season disappointed, right? It's different for this team. It's a little different when how I view this team. And I got to tell you, this is hard for me to do it all but, 48 hours removed from this game, to really look back at the big picture of what the Browns were able to accomplish this year. And it's not easy to do with how that game played on Saturday, because you got smoked. You didn't lose on a fluky play. You didn't lose on a last-second field goal. The Houston Texans throttled you. They dismantled what we thought was the number one ranked defense. There was no impact from anybody on the offensive side of the ball for the most part. Flacco with the picks. I mean, it all went bad. It all went really bad. And I sit there and my biggest fear was realized. Everybody was picking the Browns, and I hated that. I absolutely hated it. When everybody, the Browns favored in this game. Oh, my God, this defense. And lo and behold, they didn't travel. And lo and behold, you boxed Joe Flacco into a corner where he made some really bad mistakes, and the game was over. The game was over. And I guess I maybe should have known better about just walking into Houston and being able to get a win against the Texans. It raises questions about this team. And there's going to be months of this, Ryan, and I gotta tell you, I hate it. I'm gonna hate this. I'm gonna hate trying to dissect this, because as fans, you're sitting there saying, well, what happened? Why did it end this way? What can we do to change our fortunes next time? And people are already coming out with the hot take. Dude, the inbox was flooded with the fire Kevin Stefanski crew. And I didn't even want to start there this morning, because no matter what, this debate is going to rage on, and there's nothing that I can say to change your mind. If you are entrenched into the Kevin Stefanski needs to go, well, then Saturday just gave you 8 months worth of ammunition. And you're going to, no matter what I say or no matter what I try to point to, you are just going to grab onto that. That guy's going to go win Coach of the Year. And there will be people, again, continuing to say that he deserves to be fired. And it's almost a debate that I don't even want to have. Like, I almost wanted to wake up this morning and do this show, getting ready for the Cavs tonight, and we got a couple of playoff games coming up, and we'll get to our typical boost with the Cavs. It's like, I don't even want to talk about the Browns. There's almost a point that we need to just get away from this for a little while, because no one is going to be rational at this point. There are very few people that are going to be rational 48 hours after you got your butts whooped in the playoffs and you're at home packing up the boxes in Berea watching these guys leave the facility for probably the last time ever. It's hard to be rational. It's going to be hard to actually have meaningful conversations about what this team needs to do and where they need to improve, and knowing that all these eggs, again, have been stacked up for the 2024 season. And the pressure that is now going to be on Deshaun Watson. I don't even want to have these conversations, Ryan. Like, oh my God. Damn it. The worst part is there is a piece of me that doesn't want to be angry. There is a part of me that wants to look at the positives that this did, that what they had to overcome, the injuries, the finding of Joe Flacco, the development of some of these players. But I can't have that right now because my team got throttled, absolutely throttled on Saturday in a playoff game. Thank God for Dallas because they actually looked worse than we did. This wasn't a weather game that turned bad. This wasn't you had somebody go out with it. I know Joe Bitonio fought through injury, all that kind of stuff. Literally, that was border. I want to say best on best because, again, the excuses come in of who we were missing. That was best on best, and it showed you maybe how far away you were. And who knows? CJ Stroud, he might go win the whole damn thing, right? Maybe that's the best team that we've ever seen. And you'll hold on to that. Ryan, I'm looking at a team that's probably going to lose their next game. We'll see on that with Houston. I'm not rooting against them, but you see maybe how far away you really are. You see where the deficiencies were that they exploited. I mean, you got exploited on that defense. The one thing that we thought was going to be able to help us in this game, that was their worst game since Joe Flacco had shown up. They had some other clunkers throughout the year, but I'm talking about this version of this Browns team. That was the worst game that I've seen them play. That is the worst game that I saw that Browns defense play. And it's always going to be, well, is it the players or is it the coaches? And how much of this is going to fall on Jim Schwartz? I think we'll all still feel confident that Jim Schwartz is the right defensive coordinator for this team. I don't know. Maybe everybody's on this fire everybody train. It's the easy thing to go to as a Browns fan. Fire everybody, cut everybody, they all suck. But what this defense had been doing, you believe they'd get it done. The one takeaway that I think I have as we get ready for this long off season and how the Browns want to build this up, don't talk to me about defense winning championships anymore. Don't do it. I can't. And you talk about the road and home discrepancy between this defense and all that kind of stuff. I will tell you one thing that I learned now. And it maybe took a little bit of time. But the one thing without a shadow of a doubt that I have now learned, defense gets you jack nothing. You can have a good defense, sure. And maybe if they would have shown up or if they would have done this, this is an offensive league, and if you don't have a quarterback and an offense that's able to put up 25 points and go win a playoff game, you got nothing. So as hyped as I want to get about it, don't forget what this NFL is set up for and what this season upcoming is going to be and the questions surrounding the wide. You better go get me some wide receivers. You better hope Nick Chubb comes off the injury list. You better get that offensive line healthy. And oh boy, is this not all falling square on the feet of Deshaun Watson coming up for this season. Don't talk to me about the defense anymore. I'm not here to argue about Myles Garrett's impact about the game anymore and how he didn't show up and what the offenses are doing to limit him. When you have a guy that can just get taken out of the game and I've got no one else to show up. No one else in that game showed up. It doesn't matter if he's out there commanding double teams and taking up the whole offense if no one else can get to CJ Stroud. Don't even have a draft pick to go get another edge rusher to go with him. Get Greg Newsome the hell out of this town. Sitting there talking, well, I thought I played all right. On which of the touchdowns you gave up did you think you were playing all right? Please tell me what touchdown that you gave up yesterday that you thought you played all right. Dalton Schultz even stuck it to us. The one guy I said on Friday, I was like, yeah, let him beat us. Go ahead. Damn it. It's... Magic ran out on Flacco. I don't know what to tell you. Your defense was porous, and then you put the offense in a bad spot, and he made some horrible decisions because you had no choice but to try to make some plays. The pressure caved in, and you got smoked. I am trying so hard to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, you know, I want Jim Schwartz back here. I do. Myles Garrett is still a generational pass rusher. But it means nothing when no one else is going to make a play. I'm not one of these people that's going to wake up this morning and start putting it on Myles about how he doesn't make plays. It is clear and obvious that they try to neutralize him. So somebody else show up. For the love of God, somebody do something. It's been an issue that I've discussed about this team for a long time. You have never found that other pass rusher to go with Myles Garrett. And people instantly come back to, oh, well, if he's that good, he shouldn't need anybody else, and he should be able to make these plays. Go find him somebody. It's not Zadarius Smith. I give Obo Okoronkwo credit for trying to play through a torn pec. You got nothing. Nothing. In a league that is set up for an offense to go win games, and there is that is just the biggest slap in the face for some people to wake up and still realize that a defense can only take you so far. And eventually, the deficiencies of this offense, you had no one to catch the football outside of Amari Cooper this season and David Njoku. You cannot operate that way. Yes, your offensive line got decimated. You couldn't run the football the way that you wanted to. Everything went so bad. It went so bad, so fast. And I am trying to remember how we felt last week and how we felt about this team because there was progress made. There were positives on this season. I can't see them right now. I'm blinded by rage, to be honest with you. But there were still things that you were able to grab onto with this team and say, this is what you build towards to becoming. I had to watch the Detroit Lions go and celebrate and watch Dan Campbell give out. I just want it so bad. I want it so bad. And the issue is, we all felt like we were on the right path, and we got a dose of medicine on Saturday. You got a dose of medicine to realize maybe you're a little further away than you thought. The positive is, yes, this team did not finish 2-15, okay? This is not some of the bad teams that we've had in the past. And that comes back, and we'll post this as our question this morning. I think it's a question everybody's asking. Would you still say this was a successful season for the Browns? Do you still sit there and say that this was a successful season for the Cleveland Browns? Because here I am angry, here I am upset, and I need to remember that there was so much good about this team. But what you have got to do, and that's why this offseason is so pivotal, is to understand that your good still wasn't enough. What the Browns did this year was not good enough. It was better than some of the years that we've had, and it's better than a lot of the other teams. And the one thing that we all wanted to grab onto was what? Man, did we overcome some adversity. We overcame these injuries. And if you want to just dive into the train of, well, get these guys back and we'll be all right. You get Deshaun Watson back and Nick Chubb back, and you get DeJuan Jones back and Jack Conklin and Jed Wills, and you get all these guys healthy, we'll be just fine. Okay, fine. But the pressure now on this team for this season is ramped up even that further because I know they can do it. I know that they can get there. What do you need to do to change it to get over that hump? And it's crazy that I'm becoming a borderline bougie Browns fan, that making the playoffs was not enough anymore. It was not enough anymore. Now, you made it, and people say, oh, you didn't deserve to make it with how bad that game went. But the thing is, the one area that you had the most faith in, it is now apparent that means nothing. That means nothing. Yeah, I guess you can't have a defense that's given up 50-odd some points and all that. You got to show. But make no mistake that this is an offensive league. And you are going to have to make some changes on the offensive side of things. And again, I know you didn't have your franchise quarterback, and I don't even want to start talking to Deshaun Watson yet. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Matt.
How are you?
Quick question. Is your daughter okay? I hope your wife was holding her during the game.
So,
because I know you usually hold her while you watch.
I do, yeah. We thankfully my brothers and friends and I we had a nice little get together, and we all wallowed in the misery together. And I got to tell you, there's a good chunk of the. So how my basement is set up, we have a sectional couch, right? So you go down my basement. I have a Batman hallway. I'll show you one day. I charge admission, but I'll let you in for free.
Thank you.
So I have a Batman hallway, goes down to the bathroom, and then I go around the corner to where the TV is, where my Xbox is, and I have a sectional couch there. And everybody was sitting on the couch, my brothers and my brother's girlfriend and my friend Pat, and we're all just hanging out. But for a good chunk of that game, right, I just sat behind the sectional with my daughter on the floor while she played. And I just, a lot of times, turned away from the TV. Yeah. Didn't even watch. And I just heard the groans of my brothers and my friends and my wife as things went bad. So I got to tell you, that's what it was. So no, she survived. She was okay. She made it through.
But how much jail time do you think Zadarius Smith should get?
He's your guy, man. I know you
for robbing the Cleveland Browns of $1 million.
Oh my God! I mean, that's the thing. You tried.
Did he play? Did he play Saturday?
I cannot tell you how important I think that is. You've got to find somebody. That has been the revolving door on the other side of Myles Garrett. And there are people that jump on Myles because, again, we're angry today. We're upset today. And I'm not, like, Myles Garrett had a year where I don't think he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year anymore. I know the votes went in before that game, but still, it was kind of on the, could you imagine they announced him at the awards? They were going to go, wait, what? That guy? And I know Stefanski got a little testy yesterday, and he goes, you can't just look at sacks and all the pressures and that kind of stuff. That is something that I've thought about this team for so long, is you have got to find, like, that's been a missing piece. You are wasting years of a generational pass rusher because there's nobody else to take a little pressure off. Now, Garrett is a little like Kevin Stefanski. There are people that are going to rip Myles Garrett because that's what they do. Because they are so conditioned that he is not as good as people think he is. So even Browns fans, even some Browns fans want to tear him down and say he's not that good. So this is the battle. For a good chunk of this year, the anti-Stefanski people and the anti-Myles Garrett people and the anti-Browns fans, they didn't have anything to talk about. They had no room to stand. Now, after this game, they come flooding out of the woodwork, and here they are, and some of us, me included, have nothing to fight them off with. I've got nothing to push back on that because they got smoked on Saturday. So people calling for Stefanski's job or saying Myles Garrett is not that good, I've got nothing to fight you on because of how that game got played and because of what happened in that game. But they have to get him some help. Here's a little misnomer that some people forget. The Houston Texans are an NFL professional football team too. And they had a game plan to stop Myles Garrett. They executed said game plan, and they beat us up. Now, how do you negate that? You get him some help, so they say, all right, we have to worry about another. There was nobody on that defense that the Houston Texans were worried about other than Myles Garrett. They played that way, they executed that way, and they beat us. Bad. Really bad. How do you fix that? Scheme? Dude, they carved your scheme up. For everybody throwing bouquets at Jim Schwartz, and I want to make this clear too, I want Jim Schwartz back. I would imagine his head coaching candidacy took a little hit on Saturday. I believe he will be back. But CJ Stroud and Bobby Slowick carved you up. Like that turkey on Thanksgiving and that ham on Christmas. They sharpened that blade on up, and they put a master class on. of carving that defense up and exposed a lot of problems.
Can we talk about Greg Newsome for a second?
I don't really want to be honest with you. And here's the thing. I like Greg. I do. And there was a time that, all right, maybe this is a guy. I'll ride with MJ and Denzel.
Get some Cam Mitchell reps next year.
I would imagine Greg Newsome. And granted, still, they have the fifth-year option. I hope Andrew Barry's learned a little bit about picking those up.
He's got to stop going to Barley House. He's there all the time.
I can't speak
and it's
to
so
that. I can't speak to that.
Like, I'm not one
I can't speak to
It's like a joke because I'm not one to ever bash on a dude what he does on his off time.
We keep it professional
on his
the
off
show.
time, but it's just
But
he played so poor. He picked the worst day to have a horrid game.
Not great.
And our safeties. Oh my God, did we miss Grant Delpit?
We did, and that's the thing. There's money invested on that side of the field. I mean, if you want to just chalk it up to say that these injuries were just too much, because as angry as I am, there will be a time, and I'm trying to even do it this morning, that I sit back and I talk about the positives. And I was going to do that this morning. But I wanted to run through the positives and list those out because I think fans need to hear them this morning. Yes, we're all angry and we're upset. But what this team was able to do and what they were able to overcome cannot be forgotten. And what you hope is you can build on that going into next season, that you can build this culture, right? It is rare that you assemble a team and it all comes together in one year and you go win the Super Bowl. Usually it is built over years of acquiring players and building a culture and keeping this core together. And you go out next year and you apply the lessons that you learned on how to better prepare yourself, how to better prepare Myles Garrett for like the end of the year, of just showing up at the end of the year. There's been a lot of discussion about how he can better show up at the end of the year. What can this offense, all of those things you try to piece together. And the one thing I come back to is maybe the magic just ran out, right? Maybe you used up everything that you had to get there and you had nothing left. Because as I watched that game, Ryan, that is pretty apparent of what it seemed to be, that you had nothing left from a scheme standpoint, from a physical mentality standpoint. The Browns were tapped out. They used everything that they had to get to the playoffs. Now, they had that week off, and I'm not here because that was, you should have never sat. No, trust me. Them sitting against the Bengals had nothing to do with that game on Saturday. It had nothing to do. I'm going to squash that right now. Okay? That had nothing to do with it. I think they ran out.
I'm looking on Twitter right now, and I'm just reading some
place.
Kevin Stefanski stuff. This is from Hawk. He didn't say it. He didn't add us or anything. This is just on the timeline. 4 years, 2 losing seasons, 0-2 in the playoffs, blew out by a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Great organizations with higher standards would send his ass packing. Said it at the beginning and saying it now. He'll always hold this team back.
I'm going to keep saying this over and over. Do you want to have the Kevin Stefanski conversation right now? Sure. Because you know what? We're going to just put this on a loop. And Ryan and I will go on vacation for a week because this is the same thing. That's going to happen over and over again. First off, there are people out there like Hawk, and you don't like Kevin Stefanski, and for what maybe this past year, last year, I don't know. You just don't like the guy. You want to know what? You're entitled to your opinion. Sure, you believe that. What do I have to defend it right now? Not very much. I get that. But here's what I'm going to continue to say. Who are you going to replace him with? I'll wait for answers. And you might tell me that's not a good enough reason just to hang on to a guy. Okay, this guy is going to be a 2-time coach of the year. He had to remake his offense halfway through the season, and he got magic out of a 38-year-old guy coming off of his couch. He had to do this without his 2 starting tackles, really 3 starting tackles when he had Juwan Jones. No Nick Chubb, and void of any offensive playmakers catching the football, not named David Njoku or Amari Cooper. That's a hard way to operate, man. And you want to throw him out? Okay. Who are you bringing in? Harbaugh's meeting with L.A. You better intercept that plane before he goes back to Ann Arbor. Tell him to stop in Cleveland. Meet down with the Asms. All right, that's fine. Go hire Belichick. Mike McCarthy's probably going to be on the street. Go hire him. You want to keep bringing up Kevin Stefanski? You want to keep saying that this is his fault? Sure. Fine. Who are you going to replace him with? Who are you going to replace him with? That's it. And I don't want people to forget that there was a time that you believe Kevin Stefanski was a miracle worker. How he was able to piece it together and get this offense to play at the level that he did. What do you want? Now, here's the other thing. Saturday. Can I put on a Kevin Stefanski Uber defender hat for a second? What was the issue on Saturday? The defense and Flacco turning the football over. I don't know how that reflects on Kevin Stefanski.
No,
now,
Kevin's first 2 drives, well, not the first one because they didn't score, obviously, but those 2 touchdown drives had some really nice play calls. That 3rd and 2 quarterback sneak was crazy, and then that shovel to Kareem Hunt. Well, he orchestrated the offense pretty well there in that first quarter.
Okay, that's my point is, like, people want to dive into he's the head coach, right? So the head coach is responsible for everything, and you had a bad game, and you had a poor game plan, so that is all reflective of Kevin Stefanski. I get where you're coming from, but the issues were Joe Flacco and Jim Schwartz. And the same thing, we were singing the praises of Jim Schwartz just a week ago. And you got beat. So I'm not ready to just discard all of these things. I'm not ready to just throw all this stuff away on what the season was. I'm angry right now. And there are going to be changes this offseason, needed changes, and you hope you build up. The problem is that we got to sit and fester on this for 8 freaking months. 8 months. Of people still wanting to fire Stefanski or make this move or do that. When in reality, I just think the magic ran out. I think the Browns did everything they could to make it, and when it really counted the most, they got nothing left. They had nothing left. Maybe this was all smoke and mirrors. Maybe there's not tangible things that you can grab onto with this team. I don't buy that. I don't believe that. I think that they were a team that was about tapped out, and they ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into, arguably, because I had this take with somebody yesterday too, that they ran into a schematic nightmare, right? In the fight world, in boxing and MMA, what's the saying? Styles make fights. The problem is the Browns ran into a bad style. They ran into a team that was going to do what they did. Now, the issue is, I look across the league and I go, what do you see? Offenses. What do you see? Offenses. What happened to the Miami Dolphins when their offense took a crap? They looked horrible. What happened to the Dallas Cowboys, who also had a defense similar to ours? They got throttled by Jordan Love, and oh boy, did he look good. And there's offense again. And then what happened? Dak Prescott making mistakes, and the offense is not the same there for doubt. There you go. There you go. You ran into a schematic nightmare for you. In a game that, again, I think the Browns are about done. That it seems to be pretty apparent they had nothing left. Now, what you got to address is how they change things so they're not that way entering the playoffs. And there's an anger level of these guys learning. Because you see, these guys were in the playoff run a couple of years ago, and you got guys that won Super Bowls and did all this kind of stuff. Right, they looked like a first-year playoff team, right? They looked opposite of the Houston Texans, who were a first-time playoff team and a first-year team. They looked fresh. They looked new. They put some wrinkles out there that you didn't know how to stop. And the Browns looked like a team that was just dragging their ass in there. Broken leg, just hobbling in, going, all right, let's roll it on out. How you avoid that, I don't know. How you avoid that, what changes do you make with this team? Is it just enough to say that this team has learned and that they'll be better next year? That's a lot of hope. That's a lot of things to try to grab onto just for hope for where you go from here. It's frustrating, man. Oh, man. I don't want to be this angry. Like, we had 24 hours to sit on it. The question is, how are you going to remember this season? When you look back on this 2023 season, when you tell people or when you reminisce about it, what are you going to think about? And it's probably going to be that you had a historic rash of injuries and you still made the playoffs. There are teams and I hate doing this relative, but it's still, there are teams that are at home just like us having much harder conversations. The Miami Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys sit at home and go, that wasn't supposed to happen. The Browns are very clearly in a different class. And it was maybe an unwanted but maybe needed dose of reality. That's how far away you are. That's how far away you are. And if I'm being truthful with everybody, which is what I always am, this was a successful season. This was. I'm angry. Didn't like how they played. But this season still showed me a lot more than I had seen in a long time with this team. A little maybe capture of what they did in 2020. The issue that people will have is we are conditioned to think that this is just a bump in the road, which is interesting because it's a positive thing, and a bump in the road is usually a bad thing. What you want to do is ascend to becoming a team that is a perennial playoff contender, that is there every year, and you get really upset when you get bounced out of the playoffs. What I am seeing with this team is what I hope to be is the beginning. And people wanted to believe that 2020 was the beginning. Okay, well, it wasn't. All right? So now you're here. What happens in the future with this team? Where Deshaun Watson can take them, where Kevin Stefanski can take them, will tell you how you feel about the 2023 NFL season. If you go on and you go to the Super Bowl next year and you go win one in a couple of years, we will all look back on 2023 and say, man, we really overcame a lot and this team gelled and this team came together. You're not even making the playoffs next year and you're firing everybody. It's going to go down exactly like 2020 did, right? How do you feel about the 2020 season now? You feel like it was a blip on the radar, right? And you weren't able to capture what we have all dreamed of. Yes, you won a Super Bowl. That's it. What I really want is a contending team year in and year out. And if this is a step towards that process, great. What I don't want to have happen is it be the regression again. What I need to avoid is you had some successful things happen and we're back to square one next year. And you're back to right beginning at the end. Like, that's another reason why I don't want to fire Kevin Stefanski or I don't want to make this move on Jim Schwartz. You have a good core of players. Another positive thing from this season, your core should be good enough to go win playoff games. And your core got decimated. You had really hard things that you had to overcome. But a lot of these guys are coming back. Most of the core players on this team are under contract. That does not stop me from looking at deficiencies and saying, I need more receivers in here. Please, number one priority has got to be some wide receivers on this team. And I know that Andrew Berry's going to have some questions on the money and this and that. And we'll have Jack Duffin on this week from the OBR. Jack had a great article. Again, talk about the positivity. As long as the Haslams are willing to spend cash, which seems like they have no problem doing, you are going to be sustainable in this situation of the salary cap. Dishing out the money, restructuring deals, and you can keep a lot of these guys. Guys that you thought, the money, they're gone. Amari Cooper, Wyatt Teller. Doesn't have to be the case. You got to add, certainly, but what you got to believe is that this core is good enough to keep this rolling. And it went bad. It went really bad. You want to have the other conversation, the really hard conversation that I didn't want to do this morning, but we'll have it anyway? Were you really going to go to the playoffs? Or were you really going to win the Super Bowl? And I understand that fans will be yelling at me right now, and they want to drive down to Burke, kick this door in, and slap me across my face right now. I just told everybody where we're at, so lock the door. You were in it. You feel like as long as you make the playoffs, you're in it, right? And you got to look at it. Let's be realistic about it. How many more games are you going to win? And the thing is, I'm playing the games out before we actually played them, right? Like, we just got smoked by Baltimore, or you wouldn't have made the play. And I understand that that's not a good answer. And people don't want to buy that because it's a loser defeatist mentality. I get that. You overachieved this year. You did. You overachieved. Now, doesn't mean that you didn't reset expectations. It doesn't mean that when you overachieve, you raise that bar on what this team is going to be for the future. But as we sit here and have the moratorium on what 2023 was, you still overachieved. And the thing is, months, literally months of feeling good about this team went away in about 3 hours. Think about how we were all feeling last week. Think about how we were feeling a couple of weeks ago. The excitement. You never seen anything with this town before. The Flacco shirts and Flacco fever and all this other kind of stuff. It all got washed away in 3 hours. And I'm not telling you shouldn't be angry, but let's just try to remember the good times. Try to remember what this team was able to provide you. But you got to stew on it for 8 months. You got to sit there and question if we're going to get back there. Because everybody has that take too, right? It's not as easy to get back there as you think. You just chalk it up to, oh yeah, we'll return. We'll be back. It's never that easy, and I understand that. Let's have the Joe Flacco conversation, all right? He ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. There's this question. All right, can you pull it up, actually, Ram? Here we go. Kevin Stefanski. Cut number 5, please, Ryan. Kevin Stefanski was asked the question yesterday, can Deshaun Watson and Joe Flacco coexist? This is what Kevin Stefanski had to say yesterday at media availability.
I'd leave all those things up to, obviously, Andrew in this offseason. I will say this about Joe. Joe was awesome for this football team. He did a great job, battled like crazy. I know he enjoyed it. We obviously wish yesterday's outcome was different. But I have a ton of respect for Joe and what he was able to do.
We all do, and he will go down in the history books for the Cleveland Browns, and we'll look back positive on it. He is not coming back. There is in no world that he is coming back. It's a mistake to bring him back. Number one, he wants to play. Well, that's not going to happen here. And number two, you have no choice but to put every fiber of your being, every egg that you got, in the basket of Deshaun Watson. Whether that makes your skin crawl, whether you're upset by that, I don't know what else to tell you. This is Deshaun Watson's team, and if you let Joe Flacco hang around here with captivating the fan base the way that he did, and Watson's got to look over his shoulder, and the questions on the different offenses and how this fits better here, and maybe Flacco's more what you need, that is all moot because this is Deshaun Watson's team. There's no question about it. He has to be and will be your starting quarterback moving forward. And your only hope to go win a Super Bowl rests on his badly broken shoulder. That hopefully is healed and fixed come August. Sounds like it's going to be. What Joe Flacco did here was a lot of fun. It was great. And the T-shirts and the songs and everything that everybody did, it was great to jump onto that. It's over.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, Matt, just to draw another Cleveland comparison? Party at Napoli's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A sense that you get an older guy who has a great run with the team. You jump on the bandwagon, the marketing, the merchandise, but the realistic nature of it is that the guy's old. He's on the
not long for here. They played their role. They did it to an empty.
On the last train stop of your career, you have a nice season, but the real part about it is it's just not going to happen again.
Well, the problem is that people will jump onto the what Flacco looked like, and then, well, why couldn't Deshaun Watson do that? And now you have, I don't want to say an unfair sense of reality. We have got to understand what Joe Flacco did, not talking about Saturday, because, again, he did not play well, and he knows that. We know that. That's fine. But the stretch run that he had there, that was incredible. It wasn't just like he played a little bit better than we thought. He was setting NFL records. I mean, he was doing things that we would never have imagined to do. So now what is the problem with Browns fans? We have now set that in our mind on what the bar should be. So how easy is it going to be in the future of like, we had it better with Joe Flacco. We could just do what we were doing with Joe Flacco. You had this incredible run. It is now over. And I appreciate that from Joe Flacco. But I sit here, Ryan, today saying the Joe Flacco era in Browns history is over. It was a lot of fun while we had it. We all had our t-shirts. We all enjoyed watching it, but it's over. And you have now got to turn your page to the more sustainable option, the more sustainable thing for the Cleveland Browns, which is Deshaun Watson.
And I think,
good or bad, it's Deshaun Watson.
And I think people need to take a step back and realize that that's okay. You know, you brought this team to the playoffs, get a little more experience under your belt. For sure, not the way you wanted to end things, a horrible ending, in fact. But the reality is, like you said, you have that Deshaun Watson contract. He's tied to you, and he's tied to Kevin Stefanski. As long as Kevin Stefanski's here, Deshaun Watson's here, you have no course other to go than to just stay straight and what you've been doing.
That's it. And that's where, when I think about another reason for the optimism and another reason for the positivity, which is what we're trying to get through here today, you still had an offensive play caller that put on a show too, and that was Kevin Stefanski, right? Like, as much credit as I want to give to Joe Flacco, and he deserves a lion's share of it, you were able to scheme up an offense for him, which was kind of, again, void of playmakers outside of Njoku and Amari Cooper, banged up on the offensive line, and not a real sharp rushing attack. It was a perfect storm. And you got to give credit to Stefanski for that. But that's done. That's done. And I will now turn all my attention to what's he going to do with Deshaun Watson when he comes back. But the thing is, and I believe a lot of Browns fans are in the same mindset that I'm. We have got to shut down. Joe Flacco's not coming back. That's over. It's done. I very unfortunately think Kareem Hunt's done here in Cleveland. Came in, filled a great role, scored a lot of touchdowns. Hopefully, I really, truly believe this. I hope that he resurrected his career a little bit and he can go make some money somewhere else because you're going all in with Nick Chubb. It's the same comparison. People are ready just to jump on Nick Chubb and go, all right, well, we'll give the ball back to Nick Chubb. Why is it not the same with Deshaun Watson? Well, because you haven't seen it with Deshaun Watson. Do you want to know how crazy? Let this sink in, right? It'll be 4 years for Deshaun Watson since he's played a full season in the NFL. 4 years. That's Josh Gordon level, right? Think about that. 4 years of not playing a full year in the NFL. I want to thank Joe Flacco for what he did to this town. He captivated us. He motivated us. It was awesome. But it's over. It's over. And I thank him for his time. He's going to go probably play somewhere next year. I think he's earned himself money. Somebody will believe in him as a bridge quarterback, and they will go off and he'll play. Another reason why he won't be back here. But you got to put everything you got into Deshaun Watson. And there's no world. I'm telling you this as I don't really ever speak in absolutes. I am telling you that there is no way that Joe Flacco is back on this football team next year. No way. That's just not going to happen. It's not. So I thank him for his time. I thank him for his service, and I thank him for everything he did for this team. It was magical, and it was awesome, but it's over when it comes to Joe Flacco. More from Kevin Stefanski. And this kind of comes back to our conversation that we're having about what this team was able to overcome. Cut number one, Ryan, please. The question to Kevin Stefanski was, can you sit back and reflect about everything that this team had to deal with this season? Here's Kevin Stefanski from yesterday.
Yeah, pretty raw, not being 24 hours removed from yesterday. So I think the biggest thing for me, Darryl, is just these guys really fought like crazy. They really did. And it's the makeup of the football team that drives your success. And, I give Andrew credit for the guys that he brought into this locker room and the caliber of players that he brought in. But, I'm very appreciative of all those guys.
They're not all going to be the same. There will not be every single guy back here. That's how the NFL works. But the vast majority of the guys you want back will be back. Coming off of injury, sure, maybe a redone deal here or there. But the core of who the Cleveland Browns are going to be next year is here. And the thing is, they have got to apply the lessons that they learned this year on what it took to make the playoffs, how hard it was, the belief that even when things are down, they can win games, but also how do we better prepare ourselves for the playoffs? How do we better show up for these kind of games to make the plays that are needed? And also, you measure yourself. How far away are we from Baltimore, from even Kansas City, from these teams that you watch play. How far away really are we? And what can we do to close the gap? I will tell you this, Ryan, and this is another positive. On a day that it's 4 degrees outside, this warms me up a little bit. It's not a talent problem. It is not a talent problem with this football team. Is it an injury problem? Yeah. And then you were tested on some of your talent? Sure. I don't believe that this is a coaching problem, specifically with Kevin Stefanski. Did Jim Schwartz just have an egg of a game on Saturday? Yeah, maybe. And maybe you just have to give credit to the Houston Texans, sure. But if I can just grab onto that this morning and hold on to that for dear life, for me to say it's not a talent problem and I don't think it's a coaching problem, we're setting ourselves up well for success. That doesn't do much for you today. You're angry and you're upset. But I just want to grab onto that to say, at the very least, you know what? Take the coaching out of it for a second. It's not a talent problem. It is not a talent problem. Let's start with that. We'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, Matt, I think another way to look at it to find a little bit of optimism is, as you mentioned, we do have pretty much all of our core guys set to return next year.
Everybody. We
did get far. We went to the playoffs, and you got to think you can't possibly have any worse injury luck than you did this year. I'll knock on wood. But then you look at it. What would you say our 3 biggest offseason acquisitions were? I would say Elijah Moore, Juan Thornhill, and Zadarius Smith.
Yeah.
You kind of went 0 for 3 on those.
Sure. Yeah.
And so you think, okay, next year we get some more free agents.
I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson, if you want to really throw that in there, sure. But
you know what I mean? I would say those 3 were the biggest names in anticipation to come in and help us get to the playoffs, which we ended up going. But when you look at it in hindsight, I feel like those 3 we whiffed. And so you hope that next year we won't whiff and we'll nail 1 or 2 of those guys, bring back the core, and we'll just reload the clip.
Well, that's what I'm saying, too. You still have issue. As I'm sitting here saying that there is still there's not a talent. You still need positions. The 2 biggest ones that I'm going to scream for are wide receiver and pass rusher. That is what you have got to get a number 2 receiver on this team. Whether you draft one, I don't know if it's Cedric Tillman. But I would much prefer to go get one in free agents. God bless you. Mike Evans, God bless you. Sure. And the thing is, the Browns' salary cap situation, they'll keep playing that game, whatever. That is a positive, too. The Browns are in this situation. Go view yourself as a playoff contending team. Don't wait for some of these guys to develop. And I think that has been kind of how the Browns have operated. Now, they've had to because they haven't had high picks because of the Deshaun Watson trade. But to be more active in trades or to be more active in free agency, to get guys in here that help you now. Guys that are going to be on the field making plays now. And if you want to just look at this offseason, and if I told you that you're getting Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, and DeJuan Jones back, that would be a good offseason for any offense of 4 positions. If I told you were going to make moves for 2 starting tackles, an all-pro elite running back, and a guy that should play to an all-pro elite level at quarterback, that would be a good offseason for anybody. But I still need a receiver, and I still need a pass rusher.
I'm super excited to talk to Jack Duffin on Friday to figure out all the money because he's a genius capologist. Because I am intrigued to see how we're going to make this money work because the notable free agent classes, those 2 positions you mentioned, wide receiver and edge rusher, are pretty damn deep this year. So I'm excited to see some of the names he mentions as possible candidates to get on this Browns team next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It sucks because we're back into this. And we don't have mock drafts to look at because we don't have a first-round pick. But this offseason is yet again it's just so crucial and so pivotal on where this team is going to go in the future. You've built it to this point. Wasted a year of some of your best players. Sure. You got to make the moves to put this over the top.
Another reason for some optimism, too, is, you failed in the sense that you had a horrible ending to your season, But this year we kind of installed a new culture, and it went kind of nationwide that people saw. So we built up some cachet to get these free agents to want to come to Cleveland, and I think that's going to be a big part next year, this offseason.
Well, and that's another thing, too, about what this team was able to do and how they're able to approach it moving forward, going, dude, we went through hell. Like, I can't imagine a much worse season, but outside of missing the playoffs, right? Like, you could have missed and all that. In a way, this is the best season that you maybe could have asked for as a primer. And trust me, folks, I'm trying to rationalize this morning. I'm trying to find reasons to be positive, and I want to be positive. I do. This is the perfect primer of what could be a very good football team in the next couple of years. Number one, you had to have young players step up and make plays. And you know the names. Ronnie Hickman. You had Ced Tillman have to play there at the end. You had to thrust some of these guys into playing roles. And frankly, some of them really showed up. That's number one. Number two, you did instill a culture and a belief that they were never out of any game, that they could win any game that they played because of everything that they had to overcome. And I don't think that's lost on some of the core players on this team. And then number three, you ended with a horrible, terrible taste in your mouth that will hopefully motivate and push this team throughout the offseason and into training camp next year and into the future. There's the best thing I could lay out for how this team has set themselves up. Now, they have to capitalize, they still have to make the right moves, and they got to play well next year. Because no matter what, everything now falls on this season coming up. For Kevin Stefanski's future, for Andrew Berry's future, for Deshaun Watson's future, everything will fall onto this team. And I know, and shout out to Ben Axelrod of Awful Announcing. He had a good tweet about it, I think this morning. He said, the Browns will be the darling pick for they're going to suck. And they're going to be the team that takes a step back. And everybody's going to be on a watch for the Browns to fall off. And they're going to be the ones that everybody picks in the end. You know, the Adam Ranks of the world will be freaking out, picking the Browns to go 7-8, or I don't even know, that's not even enough games or whatever it is, 7-9. How 7-10? Golly.
7-10.
Yeah, I think. It's just how it's going to be. That's how it's going to go. You got to persevere through on that. You want to do it, Ryan? You want to have a little fun today? Because we got some Cavs tonight. You got the parlay? You got it up? You look like you're pulling it up.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Here it is.
A little juicy plus 350 odds
All right,
there.
we're going to keep on the Browns. We got to go around the league, but right here is our parlay, folks. We're in it with Tipico. Wash away your dislike from the weekend with a nice little boost hit tonight. Cavs are in action. MLK Day, busy day for, really basketball, but now football is taking over as well. Cavs taking on the Bulls tonight. And we got a little three-leg parlay on this one. Ryan, number one, your selection for our parlay.
Cavs to score 111 or more points. They're playing the Bulls today, Matt. They're back at home after that win there in Paris. I'm feeling good, Matt. Cavs are pretty hot right now. We have a chance to get up there in the Eastern Conference standings.
There it is. All right, leg number two comes from me. I will have the Cavs to cover that 3. They are 3-point home favorites in this one. And we're going back to the well of our guy, Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen, 13 or more rebounds. Ryan, that is boosted up to a very healthy plus 350. I just placed my bet right there on Tipico. $10 in. That'll win me a cool 45 on the way out. And also, I'm starting to rack up my rewards, folks. That's one of the newest things going on Tipico right now. Use that code Fontana100 when you sign up. Cash back rewards. You earn real cash for every $100 placed on bets with odds of minus 201 or more. So I got to tell you, just betting on this weekend, Ryan, I've started to rack up some of these rewards here on Tipico, which are fantastic. You put those back into the pool, get those bonus bets, use them on the boosts, and don't forget about the new Parlay Flex, the Flex Parlay going on at Tipico. You dial up a parlay, say you only want 3 of those 4 legs to hit, and it doesn't matter which 3 it is, get some different odds on that. The Flex Parlay is hot right now with our friends at Tipico. Download the app, sign up with the code Fontana100. You deposit and bet $25. You get $100 in bonus bets to use on the Cavs. to use on the NFL playoffs, which we got going on. We got boosts aplenty for all of that with our friends at Tipico. Sign up with that code Fontana100, and you'll be ready to go with our friends at Tipico. We'll get more Tipico coming up. We do have our picks and our plays for the 2 playoff games going on. They're still shoveling snow up there in Buffalo. Sounds like this game is good to go and ready to go this afternoon. So we got a doubleheader tonight, which we'll get into. All right, let's do this. Let's catch a break. I think we need it this morning. Trying to be therapeutic, trying to stay positive. Saturday sucked. But damn, I still love this football team. And I was happy and proud of what they were able to do. Doesn't mean that I'm not upset. Doesn't mean that Saturday goes down any easier. But this team did a lot this year. And for a good chunk of it, they made this city proud. When you play the game, there's a chance it doesn't go your way. And that's what happened. We all want a belief that this team is the one to go win a Super Bowl. Don't lose that. Don't lose that belief. This team did a lot this year. They had to overcome a lot. They found a way to make it. And they came up really short in that playoff game. But there's still reason to believe. There's still reason to look at this team and say that they are just at the beginning of what might be a magical run over years. The problem is that we woke up this morning feeling like crap because our team got smoked in the playoffs. I understand it. I respect it. We're here for you. Therapy, positivity, whatever you need. We got it for you right here on Big Play. Let's do this. Let's catch a break. When we come back, we're going to dive into around the league. We'll take a look at the games tonight. We'll take a look at the weekend's games already. And, of course, we'll get into our Cavs. More Browns coming up as well. Fontana Show right here on Big Play. All right, let's revel in some other people's sadness this morning. Let's go around the league. Welcome back, Fontana Show, right here on Big Play. Catch us on Twitter. We're up on YouTube as well at Big Play, at Matt Fontana Show. Drop us a follow wherever you can. Got you covered as well all day, every day. Well, not all day. You can go back and watch us if you want. We're on 9 to 11 every morning right here on Big Play. But let's get to Orion. Let's go around the league.
All right, Matt. Well, the Chiefs are moving on to the divisional round after they beat the Dolphins pretty convincingly, 26-7. More story of the game. Dolphins just couldn't really get anything going for them on offense. No ground game. Tyreek Hill with a touchdown. But Patrick Mahomes, 262 and a touchdown. Pacheco, great game on the ground. And Rashee Rice, rookie, 8 receptions, 130 yards and a touchdown. Must be nice to have a rookie pass catcher.
Wait, that's a shot. Well done there. Who would have thought it'd been a field goal game with all that weather? Dolphins, I said it to the nth degree. I should have put a bigger wager on it than they can't play in the cold. They just can't do it. Now, the thing is, the Super Bowl will only ever forever be inside after that New York debacle a couple years ago. But they better get home field advantage then. They better get it from here on out. Can't play in the cold. Tua, really not great. I want to say shut down Tyreek Hill, but he had that one long catch. Here's the thing. He had 5 grabs for 62 yards. One of those was 53 yards. So in essence, he had 4 receptions for 9 yards. Other than that, KC showed up. That was purely, and I know it gets kind of, football guy. When you talk about teams that want to be out there and play, Kansas City wanted to go out there and play. They wanted to win that game. Miami wanted nothing to do with playing out there, and they looked like it, and that's reflective on how it is. Kansas City, I don't know if I quite change anything about how I feel for them, because they're facing Buffalo. Well, no, depending on who wins, the bracket might get reset here, because nothing in the AFC is set right now, right?
So unless somehow the Steelers win, Kansas City will travel to play in Buffalo.
Right. Unless if the Steelers win,
then they'll travel to Arrowhead.
No. The Steelers.
Oh, they play
right. Baltimore,
yeah. Texans,
and then the Texans would play Kansas City. So nothing is technically set in the AFC. The NFC, all the matchups where the winner of this game between the Eagles and the Buccaneers, no matter what, they are going to face the Lions, no matter what. Yeah, I mean, Kansas City, I don't know if I quite learned a lot about them. They persevered. They wanted to win. They got it. Miami, it's going to be a long offseason for them, man. They're already calling for Mike McDaniel's job. Is Tua the guy? A lot of pressure on the Dolphins for this offseason for sure.
How about them Cowboys? Jerry's World. They took a little bit of shade from the Browns there. Thank you very much. They fall to the Packers 48-32. Jordan Love with an outstanding playoff performance. 272, 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Your guy, Matt. And Romeo Doubs, 6 receptions, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Must be nice to have a young pass catcher that you drafted that can catch the ball.
Again, jeez, man, right. I have been on Jordan Love. He's good. He's going to be really good. Some of those throws were just perfection. Just so good from Jordan Love in that game. Dallas? Oh, we're at home. We'll roll this on out. Don't worry about it. Dude, how is Mike McCarthy still employed? Seriously. How is he still the guy? Now, I'm not going to get Belichick there either, and watch Jerry get into this Harbaugh, sweepstakes at this point. You got to fire Mike McCarthy. You can't, dude, no way do you run it back with him. And I know Dak was complimentary of him in that. The thing is, your it's a lot like the Browns. Your number one defense, or what you thought was going to be the defense, got exposed. Yeah, Micah Parsons actually made plays and actually got holding calls. Your secondary got torched. Jordan Love's going to be really good. Packers, feisty team, living in the moment, too. And that's the thing. They're that young team, Ryan, that they don't know any better. They don't know any better. Go out there and let it fly, man. Dallas, I think they're going to fire Mike McCarthy. I don't know how they don't. Seriously. Dak needs an extension now, too. There's just so many questions surrounding Jerry Jones and that Dallas team. I come back to what I saw. Really, I thought they didn't have enough playmakers outside of CeeDee Lamb. I didn't believe ever in Tony Pollard. They had no run game. Offensive line was fine. You put a lot on Dak Prescott and just CeeDee Lamb. That's all they had, and they came up short. And then in a game again where your defense just got torched, that's what's going to happen. Got to get rid of Mike McCarthy. Got to make some changes on there. I am not crying for the Dallas Cowboys this morning. Trust me. I'm happy to see it. I frankly am.
Well, I'm sure the Motor City's still roaring after they
them.
get their first playoff win in over 30 years. They survive 24-23 victory. Goff 277 and a touchdown. All pros. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a good game, 110 yards. Stafford 367 yards and a couple touchdowns. And once again, Matt, Puka Nacua breaking records. Most receiving yards for a rookie in a playoff performance. 181 yards and a touchdown. I'll say it a third time, Matt. Boy, it must be nice to have a rookie wide receiver that can contribute.
He has supplanted Cooper Kupp in that offense. He really has. And I was waiting to watch Cooper Kupp in that game, and he really never made any plays. Give credit to Detroit. That was the best game because we were staring down the barrel of what was going to be another blowout. And I was like, man, we're going to go 4 for 4 on crappy games this weekend. It turned into a great game. The atmosphere was electric. I watched the video this morning of Dan Campbell in the locker room, and frankly, it made me sad just because I wish we had that. Good for Detroit. I'm happy they got that win. I don't know how much further they're going to go, right? Because now they're waiting to see the winner of this game here tonight. They'll be favored in that. They'll be at home. It's a great run for Detroit. Jared Goff making plays. Again, a balanced offense. A balanced offense when you can run the ball, when you have Sam Laporta. They were feeding Reynolds last night, too. That's an offense that has multiple guys that can hurt you. That's what I like to see. You know, you flip it over for the Rams, a little like the Browns. Did you really expect them to be there? I thought this was like a little bit of a bonus year for them. Stafford was semi-healthy for the majority of it. I think you'd feel better about him moving forward. The thing is, too, for the Rams, they just need some players on defense. It's pretty much just Aaron Donald still, and even his impact. Oh, anybody bitching about Aaron Donald, by the way? Oh, it's just him. See, again, what happens when it's just him on a defensive line? You got nothing. He didn't even lead his team in sacks this year, by the way. Take that for what it's worth. I think a lot of parallels to the LA Rams and the Cleveland Browns. I do. And the Rams had more the Browns had to deal with a lot more than the Rams had to deal with, but I think they're happy that they made it, something to build on there, and they'll be a team to keep your eye on for next season for sure.
Alrighty, Matt. Well, the Steelers are traveling to the snowy land of Buffalo to take on the Bills. Big spread there for the Bills. They're the big favorite here. Steelers limping into the playoffs. No TJ Watt. We know that. Going to be a tall task for Tomlin and Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, well, we'll get to our picks later. We'll do final segment. We'll do our picks for both games tonight. But just, I think it's not funny to watch Buffalo, but that they're paying people $20 to come shovel snow. I think if they did that in Cleveland, people would want to go down there just to say that they were part of the shoveling crew. Like, is that not an honor? If you won the playoff game, or if you, dare I say, even went to the Super Bowl, you would be telling your kids for a generation, I was on that snow crew. I went down to the stadium. I shoveled some snow for them to get that game in and potentially go to the Super Bowl, excuse me. I think that's that's a notch on the fan belt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not a fan belt in your car. But I'm talking about being a fan. I feel like that's something that people would love to check that box off, let alone the $20 an hour. But the fact is that, I went down to the stadium and helped them plow. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit better for the game, and they're getting the snow out, but they said they still need people to get there to help get that snow out. Kind of excited to watch the game. I'm all for a little afternoon action there. We'll get to our picks a little bit later. You can bring up the last game if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, we got some ties to this game. We all know that. Baker Mayfield takes on the Eagles. The Eagles are a road favorite in this game. Baker did win the NFC South, but we know how that division goes. But the Eagles are the coldest team in football that's in the playoffs, I would say. So we'll see if Baker can maybe get some magic there in Tampa and move on to the divisional round.
I keep saying I'm sleeping on the Eagles, and I'm waiting for that giant to wake up, and maybe they will. I would have to believe so. A.J. Brown out for this game. He's not going to play. A lot on Jalen Hurts. And I will fully admit that I'm sleeping on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm sleeping on them hard in this game, but we'll have to see how that plays out. We'll get to our picks a little bit later. Jim Harbaugh meeting with the Chargers. Thoughts? You've made that call. That was the team you kept saying he was going to go to.
Yeah, I just kind of thought it from a standpoint that that's kind of the most attractive position. Now, whether or not they're going to throw him the money that he's looking at, I don't know. That's to be seen. But you have a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. Your future's tied to him. You have Mike Williams coming back off an injury. Keenan Allen is getting older, but he's stood the test of time thus far. And then Quentin Johnson you have, who didn't have a great season, but he looked to bounce back in his sophomore season, but they do have a pretty high draft pick in there as well. Whether they do go get another receiver or a guy like Brock Bowers to boost that offense, I don't know. But in my opinion, I think that's the most attractive job for Jim Harbaugh.
And is it all but sure that Harbaugh's leaving now? Yeah. McCarthy's gone, Corum's leave. I mean, it seems to be the full teardown there at Michigan. So you won your national championship. Sometimes that's what you got to do, pay the piper a little bit there. Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama, a little bit of a shocker there. Everybody else said no to that job. Other guys used it to get a fat pay raise, I'm sure. So interesting stuff with college football and Ohio State continuing on. Why is Travion Henderson coming back to school?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, granted, how huge is that? Him and Judkins on this team?
Yeah.
Woo!
Bring back Burke and JT Tuimoloau.
That's the other thing, too. That defense is returning. It was going to winter for Ohio State.
Well, we also got to talk about what's going to happen with Arch Manning.
Quinn Ewers going back.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not already out there that Arch is out and that he wants to go somewhere.
If you're Sarkisian,
what are you
doing? Are you shocked? Like, did you have that conversation with Ewers?
I would have been pushing Quinn Ewers to the nth degree.
He had
be
that,
like, dude, go.
I got to imagine that means that he had that conversation with Ewers and told him it's likely yours if you want to come back.
Here's the thing. If you're Steve Sarkisian, you feel more confident about Quinn Ewers. He's played. Now, Arch could be he's the toast of the town right now. I get it, but he's not played that much.
But would you want 1 year of Ewers or 2 years of Arch Manning?
You get through this year, then you figure it out. Because what happens again, you might not even get through this year if Arch Manning sucks. And I don't think he will. But it's also interesting. It's not like you're trade. Like in football, you'd trade one of those guys away. I'm sorry, in football. In the NFL, you trade one of them away. If I'm Sarkisian, I would think that he was probably telling Quinn Ewers, go pro. I'm ready to turn over to Arch Manning, but there's also a little more of a guarantee that you have with Ewers over Arch Manning. Back to the Browns. Let's get into some stuff from Kevin Stefanski. I want to hear from him yesterday. So let's go with number 2 on this cut here, Ryan. This is Kevin Stefanski yesterday asking the question that we all had after that debacle on Saturday. Kevin, what happened to the defense on Saturday?
Like we talked about yesterday, I'd give them credit. They had some good schemes. They got us on some big plays. And for big plays to happen, it's typically, a miscommunication or, falling out of your gap or what it might be. So it's all little things that, as we know, they add up to the big thing.
You want to know why I hated hearing that? I would have accepted it more if he said we made mistakes or we didn't play well. He said our best was not even good enough. Really, am I missing the cut there from Kevin Stefanski? He gave all the credit to the Houston Texans. I don't like that.
And I'm not quite sure that I would use the word miscommunication on some of those plays. If anything, I'm highlighting the word effort. Some of those tackles, that Jordan Belevins 75-yard touchdown,
dude,
which pretty much was the death sentence for us in terms of momentum, that was unacceptable.
The one, my buddy looks at me and goes, was that the tight end? And I go, yeah, nobody could chase him down. Seriously, I mean, I would accept it more. Again, if it's easier to swallow when you go, oh, yeah, we didn't do some things. No, he basically said that the Houston Texans came up with the perfect plan on offense to beat us. You're going to tell me that that's not now going to be replicated? I know games are so individual and it's so different, but for what I thought this defense was, for everything that I had put on them, I didn't think that anybody was going to beat us. I thought we would beat ourselves. And no, CJ Stroud and Bobby Slowick put on a clinic of beating this defense. Let's have the real conversation, Ryan. It is still all about offense. And I'm not saying that the Browns defense can just be thrown away, or you can let this guy walk, or you can let Greg Newsome walk. You still have to have some guys show up and have a defense that plays to a certain level, and that's a sliding scale on what your offense is able to overcome. But I tell you, dude, the one thing that I am just going to take away from that game and maybe from this season is that the defense doesn't mean as much as you think it does. It really is all about the offense. Now, the other issue is this difference between the defense at home and the defense on the road. Let's hear from Kevin Stefanski on that. Cut number 3. Here's Coach Stefanski yesterday, sound courtesy of the Browns. Coach, can you please somehow explain the defense at home versus on the road?
something to look at, obviously. You can easily say crowd noise and that type of thing, but those are things that we'll look at. Didn't end how we wanted it to, but I also know we played really good defense for the majority of the season.
Yeah, well, yeah, not Saturday. Not Saturday. You buying that? And I know that he's got to come up with an answer. And the answer, the crowd noise. Really?
I didn't realize we were playing in Arrowhead or Seattle.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you try to come up with it, and that's the thing. That's what Kevin Stefanski and Jim Schwartz have to figure out over the next couple of months is like, what the hell happened on this defense when we were on the road? And they'll break it down, and they'll watch the tape, and they'll kind of come up with that answer. But that is where I will just it's a nice reminder for me and for everybody, Ryan, that your defense can only take you so far. And it can only do so much. Now, you give up 45 points. And I know that 2 of those are pick sixes, and you kind of take those away from it. But still, I guess I just want to look at it and say, don't talk to me about defense anymore.
I'm just so confused.
You know what I mean? Like, I really don't. I almost want to look at it and say, like, I don't really give a damn about what your defense does or doesn't do.
I'm just so confused as to how our pass rush just completely disappeared. Like, I get it. Miles is drawing the double teams, and maybe Laramie Tunsil is his kryptonite.
We talked about it on Friday that the best offensive tackle in the league against Myles Garrett is Laramie Tunsil.
But I mean, Greg Newsome completely disappears. Juan Thornhill just has not been it.
I will tell you this year.
Ronnie Hickman, you're a rookie. Okay, you're thrown in a tough situation.
Complain.
Denzel, Juan Thornhill, Greg Newsome.
Right.
Without JOK on that field yesterday, they might have scored every drive.
Oh, he had an and that's another positive to take out of that. You talk about money starting to get divvied up there a little bit. The money you thought was going to go to Greg Newsome, you can go ahead and give that to Jeremiah Wusu-Kornmoa. You can go ahead and get that deal done.
JOK might be the best backfield tackler in the league.
He had an amazing it. To go back to Thornhill, he sent a tweet about it. I think he played this whole season hurt. And I know that's not a good excuse, and you can't prepare for injuries. Sometimes the playoffs truly are the team that is the healthiest. And I saw this yesterday. And again, this is like getting nitpicky, and this is getting rationalization, and this is all this other stuff. Do you know who one of the stingiest teams are when it comes to injuries? For the standpoint of that they sit their guys out extra long when they really don't need it, and they really let them heal up before they come back. Do you know one of the teams are that does that better than anybody around?
Who?
The Green Bay Packers. How'd they look yesterday? They sat Aaron Jones out, knee, shoulder, all that. Now, the problem is you still needed to win games in the regular season, right? They didn't coast their way into the playoffs. But I wonder if that's something about the Browns learning on how they handle some of these injuries.
I hate to play like
devil's advocate.
Not even that, but you can't go back and change things the way they happen, obviously. Why couldn't the Jaguars just win? I gotta think that it's a dip. Like, we'd be going on the divisional
you're talking
round.
about butterfly effect, yeah.
Yeah, come on.
I don't know, man, because again, Trevor Lawrence, was he gonna? I guess he probably wouldn't have done when CJ Stroud did. Yeah, it's the butterfly effect. It's the butterfly effect. It is so much, too, of what was a team that a lot of people were afraid of. The Houston Texans. Why were you afraid of the Houston Texans? Because of their offense. Because of their offense. Again, it's going to be something.
Tank Dell.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. That's like the injury, because we started about Juan Thornhill. That's kind of where it's at. Maybe the Browns need to take a closer look at that. And again, you can't prepare for injuries. Some of these are just literally straight up season-ending injuries. Like, what do you want them to do, right? But yeah, Juan Thornhill played the whole year hurt. What'd you want him to do? Joel Bitonio, he had to play through a high ankle sprain yesterday. He said he's coming back, which is great news. Good.
I saw more tweets about the Cleveland Browns have the worst training staff.
That has nothing to do with it. I know.
I wonder
trust
if they
me,
truly.
I know.
I wonder if people truly believe that.
I mean, I'm sure that there are some, because you want it. Here's the thing. You want a reason for what happened on Saturday. You would love to be able to tune into our show this morning and for me to hand you a gift-wrapped, easy-to-swallow, understandable reason for what happened on Saturday. And I don't know if I have it. And the problem is that even if I give that to you, you still might not take it. You still might not accept it. Because I got to tell you this, Ryan. Do you want my gift-wrapped reason of what happened? You got too hurt. You were too injured at key positions, and not necessarily in the micro of that game on Saturday. It's just you had to overcome. You couldn't overcome. It was too much. It was just too much. Everything you had to do this year, all these games that you had to play out on the way out, it was just too much. And you ran out of juice. That's how I feel at Saturday win. Now, you got to get ready and get, turn it back around for this, next upcoming season, all that kind of stuff. I get it. That's really how I look at it. You ran out. You ran out of plays. You ran out of players on D, whatever it was. That's it. Now, whether you accept that or not is completely on you. And people don't need to accept how they feel about this season right now because you're probably still angry. And you're going to be angry. But you're not going to feel that way forever. And I would imagine that the majority of fans will look back on it in a week, in a month, as we get ready for next season. I don't know. And they'll say it's actually pretty impressive that the Browns were able to do what they did. The issue is who you lost to on Saturday. Let's talk about that. If you'd have lost that game to the Kansas City Chiefs on the same exact score in the same exact way, you'd feel different this morning. You lose that game to the Miami Dolphins in Miami, the exact same score and the exact same outcome, you would feel different. You lose to Baltimore, same thing. It's the fact that it was the Houston Texans. And it was the fact that you were favored in that game. That people, what did I harp on all last week, Ryan? That I hated. I hated that everybody was picking us. I hated that there was a little bit of arrogance that I felt coming from the fans and just the overall vibe for that game. And what happened, right? But imagine, again, we would be having a 1,000% different conversation this morning if that had been Kansas City or Miami in Miami. And we would say, you know what? That was a really good try. And, we came up against it. So I guess I asked the question, why does it change so much because it's Houston? Because you were supposed to beat them? Because they were a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback? Is that all why? That's just, and again, I'm not asking you to give me an answer right now or for that to just completely hit with you right now. But just think about that. Just think for a second. If that game played out the exact way that it did, but it was Patrick Mahomes, you'd be feeling a lot different this morning. Maybe Houston's really good. Maybe they're better than we thought. Does that help you at all, Ryan?
You can choose to look at it as one of two ways. One being you lost to a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback.
Maybe they're it, man. And maybe they're that freaking good.
And then you look at it from the other side of the coin is maybe CJ Stroud for the next 10 years is going to be a top 5 quarterback. Maybe D'Amico Ryans is the man to turn around that ship, and he'll be there for 5, 6, 7+ years. So tip of the cap to the Houston Texans. They're certainly proved a lot of people wrong, but you can't not be disappointed losing to a rookie head coach and rookie quarterback.
Let's hear back from Kevin Stefanski. Cut number 4, please. Myles Garrett. So there's still a world he wins Defensive Player of the Year. Those votes got tallied before that game. I don't know. The question is his impact in the last month. And I want to pull this up. I'm going to go to his game log, Ryan. And I'm going to go back to the playoff game, the Jets game that he played. I will take you all the way back to the 26th of November against Denver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His last 6 games. He had 1 sack in 6 games. Down the stretch of you trying to make the playoffs. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, was there not one of those games that he just didn't enter the statistical. He wasn't even in the box score.
It was that Rams game. It was that
right.
first game coming back from, not coming back. He didn't miss any time, but when he got diagnosed with that shoulder injury.
Right. So 7 games that he had 1 sack. Maybe I'm boiling it down too much, and Kevin Stefanski would say that. Here's Kevin Stefanski after the game, asked about Myles Garrett.
I would caution you to judge too much of defensive football off of sacks. I think that can be really dangerous just to look at sacks. I think pressures are really the thing that you want to look at and affecting the quarterback. And, with Myles, the other unique thing about him, as you guys know, teams do everything in their power to make sure he doesn't make those disruptive plays. So he's getting at tight end, he's getting the line is sliding to him, they're running away from him, those type of things. But if you just look at his impact, and particularly if you want to use pressure rate, I think that's something you can look at. But if you look at his impact overall, it was unbelievable.
I want to believe that. And I do. The issue that I will have, and I'm going to continue to have, is that he has nobody else. Of all the areas that I'm going to be angry about with the Browns and be upset with, I don't know if I cast a lot of that towards Myles Garrett. People with the hot takes that he doesn't show up when the game is on the line, and you're asking him to do, TJ Watt and force an interception or get a strip sack fumble and return it for a touchdown. Sure. And he's on the level of the TJ Watts and the Micah Parsons of the world. My anger will always continue to be pointed at the other guys. Myles Garrett is facing a professional offense with guys making millions of dollars, and they are scheming up to say, we just can't let this one singular guy beat us. We'll let somebody else do it, and nobody else showed up.
There's no way in hell.
Nobody else showed up.
There's no way in hell Zadarius is coming back.
He's
right?
gone. He's a one-year deal. And then I don't even want, because
yeah.
here's what I want. Find somebody to go with Myles for a couple of years. Please.
Want some names?
Sure.
Free agents. Obviously, some of these aren't gettable. But
Yeah, you're not spending all that money, but okay.
Number 1 edge free agent next year, Josh Allen, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, sure. Great.
Number 2, Brian Burns.
Okay. Panthers.
3, maybe. Maybe we move on from Zadarius and the Vikings and go get Danielle Hunter.
I would take Danielle Hunter here.
4 is Bryce Huff of the Jets. 5 is Chase Young. 6, Jonathan Greenard,
we just saw him.
And then 7, Jadeveon Clowney. And then they have the 8th. They have Zadarius as the 8th best free agent edge rusher.
It's that rotation of Olivier Vernon to Jadeveon Clowney to Zadarius Smith and Bo Gronk. Like that is. I'm not angry at Myles Garrett. There are people that are trying to find the place to direct their anger. And it's either Kevin Stefanski or it's Myles Garrett. And I'm telling you, those are 2 wrong places to look. The other thing, sometimes you just got to understand that they executed their game plan better. The Houston Texans' number 1 job on offense on Saturday, do not let Myles Garrett get to C.J. Stroud. And people have this twisted sense of reality that think that Myles Garrett is Superman, that he can just get off of me. Laramie Tunsil is very good. That offense was finding ways to say, we're going to go this way. We're not going to let Myles Garrett impact the game. So to Kevin Stefanski's point, he is right. When he is impacting the game the way that he is, somebody else has got to do something. I find it really hard to believe that if you can, as a defensive unit, say that Myles Garrett is going to force them to go this way the vast majority of the time, that Jim Schwartz can't come up with a thing of, all right, well, we're going to do this then, and get some pressure. I picture like the water boy. Remember that play that Bobby Boucher was by himself and the whole defense went over to this side, and they said, start doing that. Put Myles Garrett by himself on one side of the defense, put 8 guys over on the other side, and see if they can get to the quarterback. How about that? Maybe that's what we need to start doing in this game. How many times did we get to C.J. Stroud in that game yesterday?
Felt like 0.
That would be 0.0.
Yep.
You did not get him on the ground yesterday. That's why you lost that football game. Just for a second. You lost the turnover battle.
Per usual.
You lost your sack battle. You were, by just one, the more penalized team yesterday. You were outrushed. You were outpassed. You were outsacked. And you actually won the time of possession, mostly because they had 2 pick sixes. You are going to lose the football game every time that happens. And when this defense is predicated on what Myles Garrett is doing, yes, it falls on him, but it's predicated on he is going to open up these other lanes for everybody else. So as much as it's going to fight and as hard as it's going to be for a long off season of the Stefanski wars and what people with the hot takes that Myles Garrett isn't good, you're wrong. You're wrong. If you want to come back and try to tell me that it doesn't matter having him on this defense because even if he is a generational pass rusher, you're not maximizing his talents and you're not having the impact, I will listen to that. But the one thing that I will refuse to listen to is that Myles Garrett is not good at football. And there are people with the hot takes, and there are people out there that want to get, it's the easy thing to say is just that he sucks, and he's not. You're wrong. And I will flat out tell you that you're wrong. We can debate Stefanski, and we can have arguments on everybody else. The one thing that you need to understand, if you have a question about it, if you're going to try to knock Myles Garrett, you're wrong. I'll complain about everybody else not making plays. I'll talk about this defense not being able to maximize him on the field. But Myles Garrett is not a source of frustration this morning. Oh, he doesn't show up and make the plays when it really needs to. It's because the offenses are stopping him. Because he has 2 and 3 and 4 guys on top. You want to know the thing that eliminates him more than anything, Ryan? It's the scheme. It's actually nobody on the field that can eliminate Myles Garrett. It's the play calls. It's how offenses are going to say, well, we're just going to run away from him. Or we're going to do these things. You got to give credit to Bobby Slowick, and you got to give credit to the rest of these offenses. And I will continue. Any time that people want to get angry about Myles Garrett, I'm going to get angry at Jim Schwartz, and I'm going to get angry at the rest of that defensive line for doing nothing. That's it. That's where your anger needs to go. Jim Schwartz. What's changed for you, Ryan, with Jim Schwartz, if anything, after Saturday? Is that a clunker? Do you just mark that up to say that was just a bad game? You, again, go back to a bad style? CJ Stroud, they had seen you already? Maybe. I know Stroud didn't play in that first game, but they still got to look at your defense. And boy, did they have a plan. They had a plan.
I'm not sure.
Where are you at with Jim Schwartz?
I'm not sure too much has changed. Just in the fact of I was disappointed to see.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Please.
We are also conditioned to know he will be back next year.
Yeah.
There is no world. So it's like, that's the hard part, is that Jim Schwartz will be back.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme, looking at the big picture, that's the right move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So continue. Sorry.
I would say I was a little disappointed in terms of the lack of adjustments made in the second half of the Texans game. But you go look at the season as a whole. I do agree that it's not really a coaching thing. It's more of a talent thing. And getting a guy opposite of Myles that can... You would think when Myles is drawing all these doubles and tight ends that you have somebody else who can get to the quarterback. So that was very disappointing. But you go look at the rest of the season, right? The dominance our defense has been, there's been multiple games where we just get gashed for huge plays. And that's the same thing that happened in this Texans game. On some of those, though, I'm not necessarily going to get mad at Jim Schwartz because there were 2 plays. Obviously, that Jordan Blevins one, just horrible angles, and it looked like lack of effort on that tackling. And that late Devin Singletary run, again, looked like lack of effort and lack of tackling.
Well,
so I don't know how much you can put that on Jim Schwartz.
And that's one thing that, don't you feel uber confident that Jim Schwartz, that is one thing that he will not accept?
Yeah.
That is one thing that he's going to break some foots off and some butts if he doesn't see the effort that he needs to see. It almost like, to the Joe Woods era where you just had these busted plays. Now, the thing is, if you're going to play man defense as much as the Browns wanted to play man defense, and the one thing that they were really, really good at was man defense, you open yourselves up to busted big plays.
The problem is, I mean, we talk about Greg Newsome for his own segment, but then MJ Emerson, he gets beat pretty consistently.
Oh, he gets
Thank
penalties.
God. I'll thank my lucky stars for everything that we have Denzel Ward, because without him, we would just get gashed and gashed and gashed. And I know it's hard to guard a guy like Nico Collins who's so big, but Martin gets beat a lot. He gets penalized a lot. He's a super athletic freak, and he's made great plays, but he gets beat, honestly, a lot of the time. And Greg Newsome played horrible against
Not
the Texans.
according to him, Ryan.
According to him, he could be better. Yeah.
I thought I played all right. It's what he said yesterday.
And it's just, it's an old man get off my lawn take of, I don't want to see you dancing and smiling on the sidelines. We're getting our asses kicked. But it's like, dude, you're our third best corner on the team.
I'm going to try not to, because, again, we talk about the focusing of the rage this morning. I'm just going to say this as nice as I can put it. I'm good with Greg News. I'm good.
And
A can go.
It's so annoying seeing him being the one holding the boombox. Like, bro, give that to Denzel.
Well, I mean, the thing is, okay, the same thing. The Browns' defense had the swag, and that's where they got smacked. They got punched straight in the jaw, and they had nothing to come back. You talked about the adjustments. I feel like when you play with that swag, when you have all that, the badassery that they talk about to that level, it ain't always going to be pretty. And it's more about who shows up and who's going to make the plays when it's not going good and when you are down. Because the thing is, the Browns got beat, and in no way, shape, or form did their defense say, all right, well, we're going to rally here. Or we're going to, all right, we'll lay down. That's fine. We'll lay down. The offense will get it figured. And the thing is, when you look back on it, the defense was what the offense was leaning on. And then a game when the defense got smoked, they go, Joe Flacco will throw for 300 yards. He'll pull us out of the fire here. Can't have that. You cannot have that. Let's get to the conversation, another part of what happened. Your quarterback got outplayed on Saturday, right? In a league now where, again, one of the monsters I will have, don't talk to me about your defense. This is an offensive league. And what happened? You got outplayed. Now, if you want to further that narrative of you got outplayed by a rookie or you got outplayed by this or that, just take the names out of it. Here's your box score. One quarterback, 16 out of 21, 274, 13-yard average, 3 touchdowns, and he had no interceptions and wasn't touched for a sack. The other quarterback, 34 out of 46, 307, a 6.5-yard average, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and sacked 4 times. Look at it this way. C.J. Stroud's quarterback rating was double. Either if you look at the ESPN metric or the other one. He was double Joe Flacco on Saturday. There you go. There you go. And in a league that I look around and I watch the quarterbacks and I see what this league is, you didn't have it. Joe Flacco didn't have it. Now, I know that he got boxed into a corner and got backed up because of what your defense was doing, and he threw those pick sixes, which were just horrible and whatever. Fine. Okay. Deshaun Watson. I'm just going to say it once. That's it. That's it. That's it. We had better hope and believe that if you are in this same situation a year from now, that you can lean on your quarterback to bail you out. That's it. Because that's also getting lost in this game. They had better quarterback play and they smoked us. That's it. You hopefully believe that that situation will be remedied when Watson comes back for the Cleveland Browns.
I will say this. I'm more confident now than ever that there has to be a fire lit under Deshaun Watson's ass. You go through this whole national escapades of your integrity questioned by millions of people around the world, right?
Sure.
You go through these injuries. You have a horrible start to what was supposed to be the second half of your career on this new Cleveland Browns team. You go into Houston not able to play. You watch the guy they drafted to replace you play amazing. You lose in front of those fans in that stadium. If Deshaun Watson doesn't come back with a fire lit under his ass next year, there's be nothing that can do it.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second then, too. What is the one thing as a professional athlete you probably don't want to go down as? The worst of or the bust. Like, you don't want to go down as a guy that let up a big play or busted this or fumbled that but you also don't want to go down in any conversation of that is the worst of all time. Right now, Deshaun Watson's contract goes down as the worst of all time. That is unquestionable at this point. And the Browns, oh man, I didn't think we were going to have this conversation this morning, but let's go for a second here. That stink doesn't ride with the Browns as much. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, they've made mistakes. Franchises have made mistakes, and they'll get ripped for it if it doesn't go well and all that kind of stuff. But that stink just rides so much more with Deshaun Watson. You get what I'm saying here? Like, let's say that it just goes really bad. And to your point, that fire is not lit and he doesn't play all that well. They'll move on. They'll make a change. But if the Browns are successful beyond that, you forget about the boneheaded moves or the bad this or the bad that if you are successful. For Deshaun Watson, that stink is there for a long time. So if you just want to talk about the fire for him this season, it's, bro, just don't go down as one of the worst of blank. You don't want to enter that conversation, then you got to go out and go win a playoff game this year. And yeah, I know he was 5-1 this year in the games that he had played, and you saw moments of it and this and that. I think we're all smart enough to realize he did not play good football this year. That the stretch of games that you saw from Joe Flacco was the beat any stretch of games that Deshaun Watson had played here, right? The health is a major factor. I know people want Flacco to come back because there's a chance that Watson could get hurt again. I said this earlier in the show, and I'll say it again. There is in no way Joe Flacco comes back to this team. It is all on Deshaun Watson. Every little bit of it. And whatever that fire needs to be for him, whether it's this team is built and I'm the final piece to it, or I just don't want to go down as one of the worst in history. I don't want to be the guy on all the sports centers and all the documentaries saying, oh, what a horrible deal that was, or the worst deals in his. You just don't want to be on that list, bro. I know you don't want to be on that list. I don't want you on that list. So go out there and play well. Because I don't. Here's the other dangerous thought, is that it's just that. If you would have just had Deshaun Watson to the level that we believe him to play, do you win that game on Saturday? Think about it. It's crazy. You take away 2 pick sixes. You take away a couple of the field position mistakes, and you add a couple more points there. As angry as I'm on Myles Garrett, or not me, but the defense and this and that, whatever. But does a quarterback not mask all those problems? Maybe, possibly. I don't know. I have no idea. But that is something that if we can try to, if that's it, the thing is, you got no other choice. You got no other choice but to sit there and say that this has to be on Deshaun Watson to fix it. It's got to be on him to do it all.
I feel. And I guess as we're just spamming ways to feel better about ourselves.
We're trying. And I'm going to do, I swear, we're going to do this on the show tomorrow. To promo 24-hour teas. Tomorrow on the show, we are going to dedicate a good chunk of it to a list of positivity for tomorrow. But that's tomorrow.
I'd say that second half of that Ravens game, that Deshaun Watson, as good as Joe Flacco has been this year for us, that half was the best half we had of football this year.
Yeah.
And if Deshaun Watson can mimic that or get close to that level of play, I'm really confident in him. So
we'll be doing all right.
I feel good. It sucks. We knew this. We knew that it was going to end at some point. We knew Deshaun Watson is our future. There's no way around it. Whether we wanted to kind of blindfold ourselves from that or mask it in some way, the reality is that that's it. And I feel confident right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, you want to catch our final break of the morning? Let's do a quick break for Tipico when we come back. Cavs boost for tonight with Tipico and our picks for the two playoff games today as well. Stay locked in. Wrap things up next. Fontana Show here on Big Play.
we go.
All right, final thing for us here. Trying to stay positive. We'll do our list of positivity tomorrow. Welcome back, Fontana Show, right here on Big Play. Get the replay of our show at Matt Fontana Show. We're up on YouTube and Big Play as well on that. So what do you want to do first? You want to do the playoff games? You want to do Typico first?
Do Typico.
All right, do Typico. Cavs boost tonight. Yes. I'm not guaranteeing a Cavs win tonight, but God, do we need it here in this town. Bulls tonight. I like a -3. Ryan likes over the 110. We're going back to the well of our guy, Jarrett Allen, +12. You see the boost right there on Typico. Ryan all the way up to a savory +350. Use that code Fontana100. So here's what you do. You download the app. You deposit and bet $25 on whatever you want. Code Fontana100. You get $100 in bonus bets to use all playoff season long. I love it. I love the Cavs tonight. Big fan. Big fan. Ooh, I like the little arrow.
Show them the code. There you go.
Yeah. Camera left, Matt. Dude, I don't know what I'm doing.
Other way. There you go. There you go. There you go. Right there.
There it is. There's the code with our friends at Typico. Also to place our wagers for tonight and this afternoon, 4:30 Highmark Stadium. Buffalo taking on Pittsburgh. Ryan and I differ on this one. I took the Steelers +10. Ryan took the Bills -10. I think the weather, they'll make it a little scrappy there and lose by a touchdown, but I think they'll get within that 10.
Yeah, I've kind of been going back and forth now. I kind of do, the more I think about it, like the Steelers in that +10, just because you know they're going to be running the ball a ton. Najee Harris has been playing pretty good down the stretch, and Jalen Warren is there too. But Josh Allen is good in the playoffs. The numbers actually say he's a better playoff quarterback than regular season quarterback. Surprisingly, you wouldn't think that. But it sucks because it's a great team right now that's really hot with a team that limped in the playoffs, but that weather you have to take into account. So I'm going to stick with the Bills, Matt, but I do kind of like your Steelers.
I like Philly tonight. Don't say that.
What?
Don't say that.
What?
You said my Steelers.
Oh, sorry. Your Steelers pick.
Thank you. Let's not muddy those waters while we're at it. I like Philly a lot, -3 on the road tonight. I continue to keep believing that the Eagles are going to turn things around a little bit. We'll see. 8:15 tonight on ESPN. You're on Tampa tonight, are you not?
Yeah, a home dog here in the playoffs. I mean, just
Sure.
until the Eagles, it's like sucks because it's like the Eagles could definitely turn it around, but we've been saying that for weeks now. So it's like, how many lives are you going to give them? So I'm just going to roll with Baker here. Kind of in terms of like, it sucks that Cleveland lost, but for those people, if they're going to sit here today and hope that Baker loses because the Browns lost, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So I'm still rooting for Baker.
All right, so there it is. There's our picks. Get signed up with our friends at Typico. We'll announce the bracket tomorrow. We'll do a little bit of a shorter week here on the bracket. Folks, today's not the day you enjoy doing, right? It's a really tough day. The Browns just didn't show up. We'll do our list of positivity tomorrow, and I'm excited to do that because I think the fans are going to need it. I think there's an element where it's easy to get angry about how it went. It's easy to sit there and look at how bad it was. But you got to remember that there were still a lot of things that this season turned around on that was good, the players that stepped up. So we'll do that list of positivity tomorrow. But I understand, Ryan, people that are still upset this morning, and they're still angry on how things played out and how they finished out. I get it.
Yeah, I totally do too. It's a super disappointing end to what was just really such a fun season. I mean, there were so many times throughout the regular season that we kind of started our show just kind of with a thought that, man, how can they possibly keep this ride going? And they did it all the way to the postseason. You know, they were in the minority of teams in this league that made the playoffs, and it's kind of unbelievable that they were able to just do that. And you would have liked to see them beat a team that, like you said, nationally was the favorite to win this game. So it's obviously a disappointing end when something like that happens, but you take it in from the standpoint as you learned a lot of lessons. And that's just the only way you can look at it.
You still have a core group of guys that are going to be here moving forward that you believe in, that can be the turnaround for this team. The thing is, we're signing up for Kevin Stefanski debate for months. And I really...
So dumb.
I want them to sign him to an extension tomorrow just so we can nip that in the bud. And really... I expect them to do an extension with him this offseason. I really do. I mean, he needed one. He's going into the final year of his deal. He's about to win Coach of the Year. And just a couple of weeks ago, Ryan, everybody I think was on board with that. I think everybody's on board with it. So nothing changes from that standpoint. So I'm really going to ask the Browns tomorrow or soon. I don't know about tomorrow. Soon to announce that Kevin Stefanski extension so we could frankly just shut it down because That's going to be the biggest thing. That's going to be the biggest thing for everybody this offseason is trying to prove that either Kevin Stefanski is the right guy or not. Ryan, I got so many tweets from people on Saturday and even yesterday. He's not the guy. Look at the offense. Look at how the team played. I got to look at the big picture. I've got to look at the big picture of what I see with this team, and I think they're in good hands with Kevin Stefanski. It's going to take a lot for me to not believe that. I'll be honest.
If you want Kevin Stefanski gone, straight up, you're simply a moron.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. You're stupid. You're dumb. You're really, really, really dumb. You're shockingly dumb. If you can look at this season and what he did, and you want him out of here, then you're just setting yourself up. You must enjoy failure. And I get it. You're a Browns fan.
That's all we kind of know.
But
that's
if you want Kevin Stefanski out of this town, you're as dumb as they come.
Well, you're not dumb when you tune in for Chico. 12-2 today. I know Chico's going to have a lot of reaction. And then tonight across the Big Play Network, we got Come Get Some, Blake and Greg. We got Hanford Dixon tonight and the Big Play Cleveland Show with Reflog, Nick, Gab. It's all here. It's all night. Follow us at Big Play on Twitter and the YouTube channel. All the shows will be rocking tonight. Chico coming up at 12. It's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be upset. That's how we all feel today. It will warm up, not tomorrow, but eventually it will warm up, and we will see the light of day again. For now, we lick our wounds, we regroup, but don't forget, we are strongest as a group. Do not turn on your fellow Browns fans. Do not get angry with your fellow Browns fans. Understand their pain, because we all share in it today after the Browns loss. I wish everyone a happy MLK Day, a happy Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day. You'll feel better. We all will. And tomorrow, we are going to help you feel a little bit better with our list of positivity. We'll get to that tomorrow from 9 to 11 right here on Big Play. Enjoy it, folks. For whatever it is, the coffee that you got this morning, delicious bagel, whatever it is, enjoy it the rest of your day. We'll talk to you on a Tuesday edition of the show. Big Play, Ryan, Matt, as always, take it easy.